Welcome to Pixelated episode 78. I'm your host, Will Saddleberg. This week, it's a doubleheader event as we spend the first chunk of the episode diving deep into Google's surprise Pixel drop. From wicked themes to notification summaries, there's a lot more to this update than you might think at first glance. Then we break down my review of the OnePlus 15, a device that represents a pretty big departure from OnePlus's usual MO. Does it live up to the reputation of its predecessor? You'll have to listen to find out.
So we've had some big updates this week. We've had some cool stuff. We've had device releases. I mean, a typical week in the Android, I guess, ecosystem. Android, it wasn't QPR2. It was a Pixel drop, which I still hate the name of, but this is a big one. This was a huge one in November, right? This is the first time we've had this. I'm excited by any updates of this magnitude.
So out of cycle update, we weren't expecting a feature drop until next month. As you were saying, it's still QPR1. It's just a patch of QPR1, but that in itself carries a lot of bug fixes, emergency calling, camera stuff, battery stuff. But the real highlight is this very full feature drop. What Google's promoting is the theme packs tied with the movie Wicked for Good, that sequel. Right now, theme packs are pretty basic. Change your wallpaper, which in turns updates dynamic color, which I feel is like cheating a bit. App icons, there's only one app icon. The new styles don't go live until QPR2. You get some GIFs, you get some ringtones, new sounds. So that's probably the most substantial thing. But theme packs, I don't think it's what people are waiting for in terms of true customization. It's really, I don't know, it just seems like a promo opportunity.
Do you think that this is a case of, I guess it's a bridge to future customization? Because I mean, I was just looking at them about 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
I agree with you that it's very, very minimal. I mean, I know I'm not a huge customization guy anymore, but I'd still like to mess around with my phone. Like, what do you guys use? Have you guys used a custom launcher for a while? Because this feels like that first step in the right direction.
The one that I have ever been kind of drawn back into, at least over the last few years, because forever ago, a Nova launcher fan, as I'm sure all of us were at one point or another, and then I am every so often drawn back into Niagara. I think Niagara is like a really smart approach to launchers and looks really good. In fact, they just did last week a big update that added a bunch of ironically themes that really fit the overall design of that launcher really well, which is great. I'm kind of underwhelmed by the themes on this because when these first started leaking, I was like, oh good, this is exactly what I've been wanting from the Pixel, because and we've talked on the show about it, but I love the Pixel software. It's what keeps me on Pixel, and simultaneously, it's probably the most restrictive Android launcher in terms of, or Android experience in terms of being able to customize it how you want. Icon packs are not supported by default, and that's actually most other launchers do support at least some amount of icon packs in some way, shape, or form. I wish this was a little bit more in depth, and I wish it wasn't launching with just this, sponsored launcher.
Yeah, it's sponsored.
Pack. Yeah, it just
sponsored.
Feels like an ad more than a new feature to me.
I have a thought on that. I wonder if this is going to be a way for Google to kind of, it ties in. It's all part of the marketing, right? I feel like
who's paying who is the question, though.
I don't know. It feels weird because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know anything about this film. I don't know anything about the previous one apart from the ad that was with Android and they had the little kind of the bug droid.
Yeah, that's an important thing to bring up. Google's very hot on this relationship. It's not this Android, like you said, the bug droid was customized. They did something else, which is now escaping me. But this is an existing relationship. I think, anyway, it's an existing relationship, and they're very hot in this movie. So I'm sure it's popular enough to warrant
Is that a pun,
musicals.
Abner? Is that a pun? Popular is like the most popular song from Wicked.
I don't know. I literally am lost. So like, I'll just laugh.
That's the. You can even see it if you look at the image. The alarm is set to so popular. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Okay. I see. My interpretation of this is that Google can use this as a vehicle for extra marketing for the devices. So you could have I want the Wicked phone, or I want the.
It's not like they have phones in Oz.
Yeah, well, no, I guess that. But I mean, if you're a big fan of this, or you're a big fan of, I guess my question is Google going to use this as another marketing vehicle? Because they already have partnerships with Liverpool, Arsenal, England national football team, or the soccer team for American
these are
content.
seasonal themes. These are seasonal themes. So you'll stop being able to access this one January 31st, 26. So yeah, these are highly seasonal, and are they going to find a movie tie-in every single quarter? That seems, I don't know, that would really double down on this being a promotional thing. And I am super curious if money's exchanging hands and who's getting paid. Are the movie people paying Google for this advertising opportunity, or is Google paying to get access to this stuff?
I think it would be the other way around. I think personally it would be the other way around, because this, like I say, it's a way for. And I don't want the only way I'm going to describe it, and I don't mean it like this. It's insidious style of marketing whereby you have, look at this interesting little theme on my device. Like you don't. It's in your face all the time. Like you have these two characters from this movie that is it released yet? I don't even know. Like this is literally, I've gone into completely
like next
blind.
week. It's like a Thanksgiving movie. Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of makes sense. But I'm wondering now if Google does this continually, like they have the partnerships with the NBA, they have partnerships with WNBA as well.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's a good one.
NFL. Did they do something with the NFL?
Yeah,
So
the YouTube TV is like the home of the NFL. Like, and I would, that's exactly, as someone who, and you can see this with the OnePlus 15 review, but as someone who has a Buffalo Bills wallpaper on his various phones, like I immediately where my mind went to of like, why don't they launch this with like, and I feel like they should have. I feel like they should have arrived with like 20 themes, and like, 10 of them are just like generic, like not themed around culture in any way whatsoever, and then like 8 of them are sports, and then they could do like Wicked for good and like a movie or a TV. They could do Stranger Things. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like they could have figured out maybe a bigger launch for this that made it feel a little less like an ad for Wicked.
Yeah, I think because there is technically 2 themes within the one pack, right?
Yeah,
I feel like that does make it feel like an ad, and it is an ad. Let's not sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
it is
100%.
An ad. But I feel like this can be utilized in a way that would be good for every single kind of thing that Google wants to partner with. Yeah. Because obviously Google has tons and tons of partnerships, right? Millions potentially across the globe. I feel like this could be a really good way to expand and it isn't just the customizability, it's almost like the community aspect of pixel theming. Like, because hey, we all like our themes a certain way, like on our devices. Like I don't have much on my home screen.
Right.
But at the same time, I probably would have if I had a sports team theme, I probably would go and apply that. Like the downside here is if this is limited every single time, I do think that it'll kind of grate and grind and people will get annoyed by it. So what happens at the end of the day, do you think?
Access. You probably
do you think you have to download it?
To it, but I think so you have to sign in your Google account to this Pixel theme packs app, which I found very weird. So maybe that's a storage mechanism, but in terms of when you're able to once it's on your device, I'm sure they're not removing it, but once you get a new device,
we've seen, like Facebook Messenger has like themes that are no longer available, but if you're using them, you can still use them. You know what I mean? It's just if you change it, you lose it. It wouldn't surprise me if that maybe is, but that feels like worst case scenario to me, is that if you change, once it's gone, if you change your alarm clock sound, maybe you don't get it back or something. We won't know until it's gone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can see that one being a good option. I think, but let's go wider scope for this Pixel drop, because and I still feel guilty saying Pixel drop. It's feature drop to me. It's feature drop to you guys listening. AI summaries. This is probably the big addition, right?
It's the big thing, and it's also the thing most out of left field for a random November feature drop for a not QPR2. this is the most out of left field and the thing that most signifies its significance. So notification summaries, we saw them on iOS. They're now on Pixel phones specifically. They are just for messaging apps. Google's avoiding that pitfall by just focusing on group conversations and longer chat messages. Short conversations, nothing happens to them. But other than that, it's really straightforward. You see a sparkle icon, summarized text is italicized. It's really I don't know, this should probably be an Android 16 feature. It's just out of the blue right now.
Yeah. I know you have some thoughts about this, Will, so please get into AI summaries. I know you have thoughts on this. You told me.
It's just, to me, it's, and maybe I've said this on a different episode or something. I can't tell, but I can't remember. But to me, it's a dead end feature. I get why companies like we've seen Apple previously and now Google on a much more limited scope want to run towards this type of like AI summary feature for notifications, because if you're just writing stuff down, if you're just like brainstorming what AI could change or enhance, right? The idea of like, oh, summarize your notifications, like you put that on the wish list. In action, I don't know who this benefit, right? Because like if you're in a group chat, it's either it's going to fall into one of two categories. Usually it's either just nonsense, right? Like, for lack of a better word, bullshit, right? It's you're just talking. And so a summary in that case is probably not going to help you, because it's going to summarize like a funny joke that somebody sent. Like it's not going to work. And then, or it's going to be like actually important details of like, oh, we're all getting together for this birthday party. Here's all the information you need to know, which is kind of the example Google uses. And I can see where that comes from, but if I'm thinking about it, I wouldn't trust the AI summary to like fully get the details right. So I'm going to end up reading those messages anyway. And then I don't know, like, I don't think it takes me that long to read my incoming messages. I either want to catch up on them or I don't. I just don't. This feels like a feature that is very appealing to Silicon Valley types, but I just don't think we'll ever really catch on or find a lot of use in the real world. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm open for you guys to disagree with me on this, but I don't see the vision.
I agree with you on the messaging side of things. I quite like the idea of the notification grouping, i.e. promos, news.
Fine with that. Although that's hilariously a little similar. It's not exactly how it works on iOS, but it is kind of how it works on iOS, where it's per app. It's just funny to see a little bit of an iOS concept bleed into Android. But I'm fully with that. It's more of the summaries where I start to not see the vision.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that Google isn't looking over and seeing what they're doing with notifications on iOS, because they are atrocious. I nearly swore then. That's how much I hate notifications on iOS. They are they're horrendous. That's the most polite way I can describe it. So taking one aspect of it, yeah, okay, I'll allow the AI notification summaries, but I don't know. I agree with you that you kind of in group chats with people, and you don't want everything single thing summarized.
Yeah,
you kind of want all of that context, and especially, I feel like if you're having a one-to-one conversation with people, I know that Google said that they're going to try and do this more, or it appears to be more catered towards group chats.
Yeah,
it's almost like a bit of I know, and I'm extrapolating a lot here. I'd feel a little bit disrespected if people were like, oh, I want a summary of what you've said. Like, no, read what I've said. I've sent you this for a reason.
Yeah.
If it's one-to-one comms, it's a little bit different, but I don't know. There's some things I like, there's some things I don't like. I mean, it does appear, Abner, that you can disable this anywhere, or you have to enable it to be available. So that element is kind of good. At least it's not opt-in rather than opt-out.
It's off by default. Yeah, it's very straightforward about that being off by default. I don't know. Modern life, everybody gets so many notifications. So I do think messaging is the wrong place to start almost, because it's so personal. It's inherently personal. Right. So maybe that was the wrong stretch. So the feature you're talking about, the grouping of low priority notifications, that's coming next month, which speaks to another odd thing about which we'll get to in a bit. That's coming next month. Notification grouping. I kind of feel like notification overload is a thing, but I don't think that it's necessarily chat. People love seeing messages. They love seeing chats from other people. But maybe there is another aspect of the population where you just get too many messages. They're too popular. Maybe some people are too popular. And this is who this feature is for.
No, I see. For me, the biggest worrying thing is, and this is, I'm reaching the point where my parents are in the 60s now. If I get a message from my parents and it gets summarized incorrectly, that can send my heart rate up into the upper echelons. So, in that respect, I hope that that Google has erred on the side of caution with the way that they summarize this stuff. I think that's probably what me and you were thinking here. Well, like the way that Apple handled it was terrible. They just was like, let it loose, let's see what happens. Kind of. It felt like that. I'm sure it wasn't the case. But I want to make sure when I test this out for myself, I'm sure there'll be some really funny AI summaries. Some of them will be hilarious, unintentionally so.
But to your point about your parents, I mean, the problem becomes that there's an inherent you have to have an inherent distrust of these things. And that's true of any AI feature. You have to at least a little bit be on your guard at all times to look for things that might be wrong. It's, I find myself, and I'm sure this is true for all of us, but like, you do look at the AI overviews when you do a Google search. It's almost impossible, especially on mobile, to like fully like commit to skipping over it every time. And sometimes like I catch myself being like, oh, that's probably the right answer and moving on. But every now and then you catch one where it's the wrong answer and it's the wrong answer. And that's going to be true here too. And then you're going to have to open up the messages anyway and read through them and see what context it got wrong or what context it misunderstood. And at that point, are you saving any time? I'm here to say no. And what I really would like is, I mean, God, it's basically just like all of these like Daily Hub concepts, which is not my messages, but other, emails and DoorDash advertisements and all of this stuff wrapped up into one like evening summary that AI-ifies it all in a easy to read post. But I don't want that. I want that to be for corporations talking to me. I don't want that to be for like my best friend texting me about what we're doing this weekend. Like it just feels, as we talked about, like so impersonal and so inhuman in a way that like, I agree with Abner. It's if there is a route for this sort of concept, I don't think messages is a particularly good place to start, or even one, again, where I see a lot of utility.
When we get into this, I do wonder if this is going to be gamified a little bit by specific messaging systems, because obviously the scam detection has rolled out a lot further now, which I think is great. I do wonder if there's going to be some crossover there. Like, just talk us through what's happening with scam detection, Abner, because I believe this is coming to older devices, which is great.
So scam detection is now applying to any app. Previously, it was just Google Messages, but now Google's just looking at any chat app that sends a notification and applying its scam detection features to it. It's going from Pixel 6 and newer. That's a pretty good thing to go that far back. So yeah, you just get a prominent red badge that says possible likely scam on the alert. So yeah, that's a genuinely good feature, scam detection. So the other announcement is messages. It's Pixel drop adjacent, kinda. It's launching for all Android phones, but a remix feature powered by Nano Banana. You just long press on the message in the bottom corner, or when you add a photo in the bottom corner, there will be a remix button, which you add a prompt. And it's pretty straightforward, but at the same time, it's always popular. This editing and changing the styles, always popular.
I have tried this a few times. It is quite fun to play around with. And again, I think it comes back to something I've said for probably the better part of a year when we saw Pixel Studio for the first time. It feels like it's in the perfect position for like that memification of stuff that you have in group messages, or you chatting with your friends and someone might send a picture and then you can just remix that. You can take that picture and remix it again. I think that's kind of good. I quite like that aspect of it. And I think some of the results are fantastic. We know that Nano Banana is incredible at doing certain things. But have you guys even had the opportunity to try this yet? Because I've been playing around with some of my friends' photos in group chats, and it's quite addictive.
At a high level, it's already in the Gemini app. It's also an AI mode, but really putting it into the social apps, people, you might not think that like going to their Gemini app is a hassle or whatever, but the fact that it's right there, it's one of the better parts of putting AI everywhere, that it's just there. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to switch contexts. So yeah, this is, it's a very simple feature in terms of we've had this for a few weeks now, but it is going to be a popular one.
Yeah, I do wonder if that people will take it for trends as well. Like we had that miniature figurine trend recently. I know Google have given that as an example, but that kind of stuff is kind of cool, especially with friends and family. And obviously, I hope that obviously everything's watermarked and stuff like that, but I'm sure people will make some absolutely funky creations. So if you haven't tried that and it is available on your device, definitely give that a go. I highly recommend it. It's good fun. They don't stop there with this AI stuff, because this feels like the AI pixel drop, right? Tell me a little bit about this photos personalized edits, because this is one that I glossed over initially when we did the deep dive into the video of this, because I don't have this available.
Google had a lot of, at the same day on Tuesday, they had a lot of photo announcements. Ask Photos, which is horribly named, but it's, Ask Photos. That is conversational search that is rolling out worldwide at the US availability. But the feature you're talking about is, so if you have face groups, you'll be able to ask Google to conversationally edit your images, and Google will look at your face groups, people that you've identified, that you've manually tagged, and it'll use those previous photos to update, to accurately modify the image you want. So the example Google gave was removing somebody's sunglasses, opening their eyes, making somebody smile, etc. And those will tap into the previous known photos of that person that Google has, that you've already stored.
I'm guessing you need a big library of images of those people within your photos library for this to work correctly, right? I guess, does it just work with people for now, or is it pets as well? Because I have a huge library of photos of my pet, so I'm wondering if I can kind of be like, oh, make sure she's not looking down at the floor or looking at the treat in my hand, that kind of stuff. Because am I right in thinking this is US only for now still?
Yeah, I think this one, personalized edits, a lot of the photos things are, but like I said, like they're starting to expand internationally with Ask the conversational search, and I'm sure Help Me Edit will be next. But there's a lot of photo stuff. You can read that on the site. But I think the last big one for this feature drop is this power saving mode for Google Maps. Only available on the Pixel 10 series. When you're navigating with car navigation, driving navigation, you can press the power button and you get the UI on your basically always on display-ish. We haven't tested it out. But it's a black and white simplified navigation UI that just shows the map, next direction, and other key details. So I'm sure this is going to be another popular one.
Yeah, I think this is a good one. You're an Android Auto user as well, Will? Or do you use your phone propped up? I think this would make me use my phone propped up, to be quite honest with you, because this is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I guess I don't need, but for people who are in older vehicles, or even just vehicles without Android Auto, you prefer using your phone, like what a no-brainer idea of, like, you probably won't need this feature usually, but if you're in a situation where you didn't realize that you didn't bring a charger and you went on a road trip or something, I don't know. There are situations where you can see this just being like, yeah, you know what? I just need to get home. I'm an hour away from home and my phone's at like 8%, but this is going to get me there or something. Like it's a worst case feature, right? But like those are sometimes the best features because you want to have those in your time of need. So I don't know. I really like this. I hope it comes to more than just the Pixel 10 series, because I don't see a reason that this has to be restricted to just the Pixel 10 or even just Pixel in general. I feel like this could come to other Android phones, considering most of them have AMOLED displays now.
It's probably tied to that wallpaper feed, that always on display wallpaper
that
feature
could be,
that the Pixel 10 got.
Yeah,
are you using
that?
I'm not using that.
I'm not. It's my least. I've never liked it. Yeah, I didn't like it when Apple did like a similar thing. I didn't like it when everybody ripped off Apple.
I hated when Apple did it.
Yeah, it's. I am give me the time, give me my notifications. I'm fine with the time being lit up in color, but that's as far as I go.
I'm going to turn it on just to spite the pair of you and see how I get on with it, because I didn't realize you could do this. This is one that I remember setting it up. I reset my Pixel 10 recently again. Yeah. This is just the pitfalls of making videos for the channel. Is sometimes you end up having to restore your phone quite regularly to do things a certain way. But yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to see how I get on. But this, to me, feels like one of those features that, like you said, Will, why has this not been a thing for before? This just feels like the ultimate low power way to get maps. Like, I could see this as a cyclist. I mean, does it have to? Do you have to be in a vehicle to use this, or can you use this on a bike? Oh, damn!
It's
I'm sure you
driving.
can set yourself to drive, even though you're cycling.
Probably not safe.
Probably. Maybe here in the UK it is, because we do cycle on the same roads. But maybe you could try it and see if it works. But this feels like a no-brainer to just bring this wide to everyone. But I can kind of understand, like you say, make it a Pixel 10 feature for a little bit.
Even if it wasn't,
goes wide.
Even if they kept it, like, to your point, Abner, if it is like a specific Pixel feature that it's tying into, I still think that they could build like a lighter version of this into maps in general, to just like go black and white and like maybe turn off, if it can turn off any specific like background feature, like if it's like looking for nearby restaurants or something. I don't know. Like you could see a way where like they split the difference and maybe it is better on Pixel 10, but is available more widely. I think any safety specific feature like this, and I would say that this is a safety feature, I'd like to see as wide as possible. Yeah.
Safety features, they keep coming actually, because the VIP Pixel VIPs widget. Have any of you guys using this? I'm not using this widget at all.
No, I'm not either.
There's a new option here, right? But
I'm using
I think
it
it's
a
kind of
lot
cool.
to open messaging.
Okay.
Open messages.
And the current
specific conversations.
So basically, it just gives you like 4 or 5 people. 4 people is it maximum that you have?
8 people. Yeah.
8 people. Okay. Well, you're calling me intrigued now, because this sounds like a really good option to have when I have like friends and family and stuff. So this will give you information on the person nearby, if there's like weather warnings, crisis alerts, that kind of stuff. Like, do we know what the limitations of this is? Because I think the example they gave was potential flooding.
Yeah, so Google has an extensive, weather crisis alert system around the world when people identify these emergencies. So you just see a nice notification, so you can check in with people, have to see how they are.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how this works. I'm hoping that they will, again, err on the side of caution and kind of give you the base level of risk, rather than just be like, oh, it has to be a certain level, a threshold. The threshold's quite low, if that makes sense, because you kind of want to know what the threshold is before you act on it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you want to know, is there a potential flood risk, or is it like almost a little bit too cautious from Google? I don't know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that this could be quite scary for people who don't know, and then they see that one of the contacts has a potential flooding risk nearby. But I guess we'll know in a few weeks when this starts rolling out a bit more widely. As for the wrapping up the kind of the Pixel feature drop before we get into kind of what's happening with the OnePlus 15, there's been some big expansions of other applications here that I think might be glossed over a little bit. I think adding some of these features, like the journal application, to Pixel 8 and 9, because I think a lot of people complained about that when it launched with the Pixel 10, is fantastic. I'm glad that Google is whether they're listening or not, is doing this and bringing back porting things that people want to use on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and we've seen this. I feel like we see this a lot, like over the last couple generations of like, you know, Pixel generation launches in either October or August, depending on what year it is. But you know, or maybe both. But you know, you get this new hardware. It's got some new software features, and then in the next like big feature drop, whether that's, you know, in November like it was now, whether it was in December, October, whatever, like 2 to 3 months after new hardware comes out, those some of those features start to come to, especially if it's like new apps like this, some of them start to come to older hardware. I think that's fine. Like I think it's like a nice little perk for those early upgraders, like early adopters upgrading from their old phones to get like a taste of what's new, before Google brings it to older hardware. They don't hold it for a year or something. I think it's totally, I kind of like the strategy. I think it's like a smart way to like reward people who are jumping to new hardware.
Yeah, I like the idea that you hold on to your device. Like I say, everyone's holding on to devices for longer than ever, and if Google is understanding that and making sure that the previous 2 to 3 generations get specific applications, I think that's great. Yeah. Same for that. We're seeing device health roll back to Pixel 6 series. I think that's great because obviously, are they coming up to their final year of support now? Pixel 6, I think it is. Is it the 5th year? They're rolling into it now, 2026. So, you want to know the health of your device. Should I get a battery replacement? It's all good stuff as far as I'm concerned. I think that it can never see a negative there. Let's get into OnePlus 15 then, Will, because me and you have been using this device. I want to hear your thoughts because you wrote the review on this. There's a lot of things I agree with you with. Some things I want to clash with you. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of this review and tell me what you think of this device.
Well, it would be a boring conversation if we agreed on everything anyway. So yeah, I mean, look, the long and short of it is the best battery life I've ever used on a smartphone, bar none. I mean, like we're talking. Yesterday I was taking photos and you could see it in the review that I'm at like 21%. And that was on my 3rd day off the charger. And I wasn't being like, I was hitting like 3.5 hours of screen on time per day in that span. So, 9-ish hours of screen on time over 3 days with background tasks, right? Like that was primarily on Wi-Fi, but still, I mean, we're talking about like this is a 2-day phone for 99% of people, like a true 2-day phone. And then, beyond that, like depending on your use case, you might hit 3 or even 4 days. And when you need to go charge, like you could throw that thing on the charger for 10 minutes and be good for another day. Like it's remarkable. I mean, this thing has a bigger battery than the Pixel tablet. Like that's where we're at with silicon carbon, which I think it's nuts. Like it's crazy. And it makes me want to use the phone. And it's a bummer that many of the other aspects about the phone don't make me want to use it. I think the design is clean and sparse, but I also think it feels so much like an iPhone, insert number here, Pro Max, not the newest one, I guess, but like certainly an iPhone 15 or 16 Pro Max, which is, it's fine, but it considering the last couple of OnePlus devices, especially the 13, had such a strong identity, it's disappointing to see that gone. I thought the camera was okay, but it's certainly a step back compared to the Hasselblad processing. Now that evolved over time, so I'm willing to see, if OnePlus is kind of back up to the standard that their last couple of devices set, in a year or two, but at launch, it is decidedly not as good of a camera system as the OnePlus 13. And then I really struggled with the software. Oxygen OS 16, most of its new features are either add-on AI abilities that I don't think are particularly interesting. There's not even that many new this year, and what is new is pretty lackluster. I feel like if you're using AI skills on this, it's going to be Gemini, and then it's a lot of iOS clone software, up to and including the shortcut key is such a ripoff. It made me laugh when I saw it, and the lock screen has big like glassy numbers on it now, or you can set it that way. Which where have I seen that before? And so it's this very Apple-fied OnePlus experience that just, it feels like you're using a knockoff. I compared it in my review to buying a quote unquote Gucci bag on the street. And it's like, sure, you're saving money, but you're using a knockoff. And in this case, you're not saving that much money. Like the Gucci bag off the street in Chinatown or whatever is going to be significantly cheaper than a real Gucci bag. This is not that much cheaper than an iPhone if what you're after is that type of experience. So I don't know. It's not a bad phone at all. I could stick on this for the entirety of 2026 and be totally fine and have a perfectly fine smartphone experience, which is kind of the baseline that you'll find in every flagship today. But compared to the OnePlus 13, which, it's still a 2025 phone. So I think it's safe to say it personally is one of my phones of the year. It's just a big step back, and it's a little disappointing. And I don't know where OnePlus really goes from here. I think they need to kind of rethink this strategy.
Yeah, I agree with you on some aspects. Do you know what I will say is it is eerily similar to the Pixel 10 in the hand. The shape, size, Pixel 10 Pro XL, sorry.
And the camera bump looks like the Pro Fold.
It looks like
so it's
Folds.
It's like this halfway house between what Google's doing with the Pixel, but they're differentiating themselves in the software, and then with the they kind of haven't differentiated too much from the iOS software.
Yeah,
they've like it. I think you alluded to it. It feels like two steps forward, one step back. They're no better off than they were than the OnePlus 13, but at the same time, the releasing in the same year has probably hindered that a little bit. I don't know why we're not seeing OnePlus specifically and Oppo by extension lean more into Material 3 Expressive, because this would be a way to truly separate it from what Apple is doing with iOS. Because there are touches. It's like they've said, oh, we'll put a little bit of what Apple's doing with liquid glass in here, but we won't go whole foot in, if that makes sense. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if you see this. Like you say, the lock screen is annoying because it's like, why have you made this see-through? That doesn't make any sense. And then it's like, there's barely anything else in the OS that is see-through. It's like,
it's the buttons, I guess, on the lock screen, but otherwise it feels very iOS 18, I suppose. And then with these little touches, and maybe it just was too late in the development cycle to really lean into that. So maybe that comes with Oxygen OS 17. Who knows? But yeah, it's, they built this, it's terrible. They built this categories view into the app drawer, which is like the most nonsense thing I've ever seen, because it replicates the app library from the from iOS, which is already like a worse version of the app drawer. It's essentially, Apple loves to do this, where they finally realize they want to take an Android feature, but they have to do it differently. They can't just copy it. They have to change it, which is how we ended up with the always on display that always had a picture on it before they eventually added a blacked out one like 2 months later. But so they add this categories view to the app drawer, which you can't set as the default. You always have to toggle to it manually. So nobody's going to do that. It's a worse version of what already exists. And most annoyingly, and maybe this is petty of me, but despite the fact that the word fits, the word categories will just constantly scroll when you have your app drawer open. It actually does eventually stop after like 3 minutes, I realized. But it's just, it drives me nuts. It's one of those decisions where it's like, this isn't for anybody. You can't set it as the default, so nobody's going to use it, and it's annoying. And like, that's kind of how I feel about Oxygen OS 16, which is so frustrating, because just a year ago, I was like, oh, I like Oxygen OS 15 more than what One UI is doing, what Samsung's doing with One UI. Like, I felt like it was the right mix of like, looks a little bit like normal, quote unquote pixel normal Android, but with these flourishes, these power user flourishes of like icon customization or stuff that made it feel a little bit more flexible than what the Pixels launcher does. And it's not that this stuff's gone, but like they've leaned so much more into some of these Apple decisions that it just, I don't know. It's so frustrating.
I think I disagree with you on the camera, by the way. I really like the colors on it, and you can see that they've learned from the Hasselblad partnership.
I actually think the colors are fine. It was the sharpening. It was the sharpening.
Yeah, no,
and
true.
then
That aspect, yeah.
Some of the
I think sometimes the zoom is good as well. But
I've had some bad luck with the zoom where I feel like I get a lot of bloom off like sunlight and stuff like that. But it once you're, I don't know, it's a mixed bag. I don't think it's like a disaster or anything, but it doesn't feel. Not once did I have a moment like I did with the OnePlus 13 many times where I would take a photo and go, whoa, like when I see the finished result, like the processed result, I would see the photo and go, oh, okay. Which is like not what you want.
I think that's kind of how we feel about this phone a little bit, even though there's some fantastic elements of it. I think if we just frame it as a gaming phone, this is insanely good.
Yeah.
This is an insanely good gaming phone. This is probably
100%.
the best gaming phone. Like you have a tablet-sized battery, and I do think that OnePlus has lent into that with the marketing pre-release and in China. This is a fantastic gaming phone, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It has all of the top tier specifications that you need. The software is a little bit. It feels like they've toned it down, the good parts of it from last year. But yeah, I can't really fault it in too many ways. What we thinking? 7, 8 out of 10 at the most.
Yeah, if I had scored it, it would have been like a 7 out of 10, which is to say, like. Yeah. It's no, I don't think anybody's going to be mad about this. And if the stuff I'm complaining about, you can brush right by if you like don't care about the iOS stuff, and you can ignore it pretty well if you go around it. You know, there's the plus key, maybe you can't, but otherwise you can set enough stuff up that like you can kind of ignore it. The battery life alone, I mean, man, you know, I've seen a couple comments already of like, oh, who cares about this? This kills battery anxiety forever. Like you will never have like the combination of a battery this size with charging that fast. I mean, it's like, that's it.
So
you'll never
to get to that battery, is the device any thicker or
it feels chunky, right? It feels chunky.
It feels chunky, but that comes with this squared off design that everybody's using. It's the same on Pixel, where it just if you're not going to make it a thin phone, the lack of a curved side, and I'm not counting the very slightly chamfered edges, but the flat edges just make everything feel chunkier, and like that was true on it, but it feels like you're holding an iPhone whatever 16 Pro Max, which I reviewed. I haven't used the 17, but I've held an iPhone 16 Pro Max. It feels very similar thickness wise, but with this massive silicon. I mean, this thing has me convinced that's, despite its shortcomings, silicon carbon is the future of battery tech, because yes, silicon carbon batteries will, degrade faster. Let's put aside whether or not they'll expand faster, because that is a real concern. But in terms of the degradation, okay, so like in 4 years,
you lose
maybe
a couple of hours.
Yeah, you lose a couple of hours. You're still gonna be looking at a 2-day phone. Like, I've been using my Pixel 10 this morning now that the review's live, and like I'm watching that battery percentage number just drop, and I'm like,
how fast did it get you to adjust to? How long did it take to adjust to having a multi-day battery phone?
A few days. After a few days, I stopped plugging it in overnight. And I was just like, I'm just going to rock. And like, when I need to plug it in, I'll plug it in. And so that was like, again, I took those photos yesterday afternoon, and then I think I hit like 18 or 17%, and I threw it on the charger. I was only going to throw it on the charger for 20 minutes, and then I ended up making dinner. And so it definitely was on there longer than it needed to be. But, I came back to a full charge, and even now, after a night of using it, and then it's sitting next to my bed overnight, and then using it a bit this morning, it's at 87%. So like, it's pretty good. I just wish the rest of the phone around it was as good as the OnePlus 13 was, because if you just shoved this battery in the OnePlus 13, I'd be like 10 out of 10. I love it. But yeah.
I think that definitely is how I kind of feel about it as well. There's a few shortcomings, but hey, all I want to see is Google now take this and be like, hey, we've seen these guys doing these insane battery life. Maybe that's one for the Pixel 12 probably, or we see silicon carbon in a future Pixel. But that's the feature drop, or Pixel drop, whatever you want to call it. OnePlus 15 quick overview. We've only given you the highlight reel there. Go check out Will's deep dive into this review. It's a fantastic read.
Thank you.
I just read it before this podcast, and only a couple of things I disagree with them, which is a good sign, right? We've got consensus.
Yeah.
But yeah, expect more content like the OnePlus 15. We'll be comparing it to some other devices in the coming days. But yeah, I just want to say thanks for joining me again, guys. It's always good fun chit-chatting Pixel drops, random devices that feel really out of place. We're getting a flagship OnePlus phone after we've had a flagship OnePlus phone in January. It is what it is, right? But yeah, thanks for joining us, and I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Pixelated, a 9to5 Google podcast. If you enjoyed the show, we ask that you rate and review it on the podcast platform of your choice and help spread the word by sharing the show with friends or on social media.